Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button, because we will keep you up to date with all the latest and greatest things happening within the cryptocurrency space and also the broader markets every single day at 1 p.m. UK time on this channel. So don't forget to check out that subscribe button. And as I'm going through the video, if you enjoy it, a like and a comment is always appreciated. It really does help me get to a wider audience. As I've just stated, we have a lot to get through. This is going to be a jam-packed update, and we're going to be starting things off with really the interesting news that I've found over the past 24 hours. There's some Ripple news in regards to their lawsuit and involvement with the SEC. We also have news in regards to another cryptocurrency project that actually has now been charged with violating securities laws. Now, it's kind of case specific. I don't think you can use this as a kind of broader case for the overall cryptocurrency market. We know that there's a lot of uncertainty, and most altcoins fall into this kind of gray area, even still Ethereum, although we know we do have the likes of BlackRock and others looking to file for a spot Ethereum ETF, which means there couldn't be that discrepancy or problem or gray area. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds. But we're looking at that to start things off. Then we're going to be talking about Solana. The Solana blockchain is down again. And despite the problems that Solana is having and continues to have, actually Solana saw the largest inflows in regards to exchange traded products out there, obviously barring Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it is statist and sort of an institutional child, if you will. I don't think it's VCs necessarily at this point. I think it's more institutions that are on the Solana trade and ultimately will allow it to do very well. Then we're going to be diving over to some price action, recapping on where we are from a technical point of view, looking at some things that actually support our technical narrative, like the global liquidity index. Now, we have looked at this previously. We're going to be bringing up a chart from Julian Bittel, who essentially is showing this, looking at this in relation to Bitcoin. And then we're going to be talking about the fact that people are still, as a whole, net short the S&P 500. Okay, and they've been this way despite the S&P 500 bottoming in November 2022 and actually now having hit our target that we had in 2023. So our target's been hit. All of our stock targets got hit. We have Spotify today that might get hit. We'll look at the broader context of things. Remember, it's earnings season, but lots of positive news coming out for the markets. And of course, we'll relate this to where we are and where we think we're going. So a hell of a lot to get into. Let's dive into it all, and let's start things off, guys, with a little bit of news. So this is Ripple ordered to turn over financial statements by a judge. The SEC and Ripple have a discovery deadline of the 12th of February. So we know that, according to Judge Torres, XRP has been deemed a non-security. However, the SEC is still digging their feet in. And I'll read a little bit of this. The SEC won a motion in its case against Ripple. Judge Sarah Netburn ordered Ripple to produce its financial statements for 2022 to 2023. So the interesting thing was the SEC were actually accusing them of doing what they did using XRP as kind of like their own personal bank account and almost a security, actually pre-2022 to 2023. So the SEC at this point, really, in my opinion, are clutching at straws. At this stage, the court sees no basis to short-circuit that inquiry by denying access to readily available information that may be probative to the remedy stage, Netburn wrote. Additionally, Ripple will have to produce its post-complaint contract. The court is not convinced that the production of these contracts will result in an improper or costly mini-trial, Netburn said. And finally, Ripple will also have to produce the institutional XRP sales proceeds that happened after the filing of the SEC complaint. So it's interesting. So they now want further data. Having lost and not really having a leg to stand on, they now want to dig a little bit further. And I think this is all setting up for Ripple to go public. You guys know that I do think the XRP trade will be a right one eventually. We also have news in regards to another case. So the SEC has just won its motion for summary judgment in the kick suit. Judge Hellerstein held that the public sale of the KIN tokens violated the federal securities law. This is the most noteworthy ICO case since Telegram. We'll be dissecting this for a while. So is this a crypto token that essentially did violate securities laws? I don't think you can sort of tarnish the rest of them with a broad brush based on a specific case with specific kind of outcomes. And I do think this was actually something that failed
the KIN token. And actually, you can see people asking in the question, do the tick holders receive any refunds or otherwise made whole? It's very unlikely. This is not how things go. I actually watched the Bitcoin Netflix series. I think it was Centra. Absolutely fascinating. The cryptocurrency market was and is still rife with scammers and people that are trying to take your money and propagate pyramid schemes, essentially, like they were. And it's very interesting that no investors got made whole. And actually, the guy at the head of it, because he ratted on everyone, basically got to walk free with no punishment on him whatsoever, and actually keep a large part of the money. And that's, I guess, what you get for working with the government. Last little bit of news before we move on to some more technical stuff. You can see that Solana blockchain is down, no blocks since 10:22 UTC. The Solana network experienced a major outage on February the 6th at 10:22 UTC, and engineers from across the ecosystem are investigating an outage on mainnet beta. So despite all the issues that Solana has, I think it's going to be the first coin to get an ETF outside of Ethereum, the first altcoin. And I think that this largely isn't going to affect anything. This happens all the time on Solana. I know John Wood from Algorand, the Algorand CTO, he was recently discussing on Twitter how a lot of the transactions that get put through on the Solana blockchain essentially fail. So there's a lot to be desired there, I think. Let's move on. You guys will all know the plan if you follow me daily. It's just a case of hurrying up and waiting and seeing if this right shoulder is in, and ultimately us projecting that 150k target for Bitcoin. And we don't just get, and if you didn't watch yesterday's video, please do so, because we've thrown a number of other reasons why we're bullish on Bitcoin that aren't just specifically based on the technical analysis that we have for Bitcoin, the broader macro picture, cross-market analysis, so on and so forth. But it's just a case of us waiting for this right shoulder to play out. And on the short term, yesterday, the dollar was really strong, and this is obviously off the back end of non-farm payroll. We do have what could be a mini structure setting up for Bitcoin in a similar manner to what we looked at in 2023 or what we're looking at now, which is an inverse head and shoulders. Ultimately, this is going to give you a projected target of around about 45,600. So we'll see if that gets met. It's going to run you right back into this resistance zone. The flip side, of course, of Bitcoin and risk is the dollar, which I actually think is going to want to complete its target that we have for it here. So we were looking at a similar thing here for the dollar. Bitcoin and the dollar had the same thing showing up. And you'll see that the risk generally will move in adversary to the DXY. However, there are anomalies, and certainly when you have technical merit on the short term to suspect them both to do well at the same time, you don't bet against that. But I think the DXY is going to get to its target and then have a bit of a pullback. Could see crypto do quite well today in what is perhaps going to be, I think, quite a macro-friendly day. Moving on to the topic of macro, I want to share some things from Julian Bittel, who I believe is one of the Real Vision people. This is GMI Weekly Global Liquidity Index year on year. And this is the GMI Leading Index 12-month lead. And you can see this is set to rise, which aligns with our 150k Bitcoin price, our broader prediction on the DXY, which I'll show you guys very quickly. So we are bears on the DXY eventually, but you are going to have, it's not just going to go down in a straight line, but ultimately this is going to be the backdrop. Remember, we think this is all driven by rates. Rates also support liquidity. I don't feel like there's any other people on YouTube, perhaps barring the market sniper and of course the crypto sniper, that go into markets in this much detail and relate it to the crypto space. I feel like we are the best in class essentially at that. But of course I would say that, and that is just all my own opinion. But you can see the liquidity index also aligns. Somebody posted something very interesting here. So shout out to him, O Garcia, pointing out the correlation between the global liquidity index and actually Bitcoin and where it's at. And everything is tethered to liquidity. It's why interest rates and markets are so sensitive to interest rates. Also, we did speak about how people are net short, and this is a YouTube, actually, from Real Vision the other day. I'm not going to play it. You can go and watch it and find it. It's called What's Really Going On in the US Economy. I was listening to this morning whilst I was in the gym. You can see that people are still net short the stock market, despite the stock market having gone on and done exactly what we expected to do. And remember, our S&P target, we're going to have our Spotify target get hit today. Our S&P target was met that we had from 2023. Just like our NASDAQ target was. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, guys, what are you doing? At this point, we also had things like Microsoft, so on and so forth. We're looking at Spotify today to make our target. In fact, look at that, guys. All pre-predicted. We're not covering this stuff after the fact. And if you're a Patreon, you've had all of these and got all of these well before we've kind of come out to the broader market. So we'll see how today unfolds. Generally, I think you might get a bit of a bullish tone today, given how sort of CNBC is opening up. You can see BP shares rise 10%, UBS looking to buy $1 billion worth of their shares back. You can see the likes of, I think there was some Spotify stuff in here. Toyota beat expectations, Snapchat to lay off 10%, which is actually a good thing, believe it or not, not for the employees, of course, but for the outlook of the company. And you've also got Chinese liquidity, stock market bumped up 3% there because of the bailouts and stuff like that they're planning on doing. So you can see surges 3%. Again, this is likely going to make our target that we had for it. That's really all we got for you guys. So it's really a case, I guess, of sticking to the plan and seeing how today plays out. And I do think the dollar, you may initially have the dollar go on and make its target, its inverse head and shoulders target on the small short term. We've got a broader thesis to the downside for the dollar. We've got a broader bullish thesis to the upside for Bitcoin. And there's a yin and yang there, I guess. And we'll see how that all plays out. I do actually have a couple of small altcoin trades on to the long side, but we'll see. Hopefully I don't get wrecked on those. So that's really all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.